Welcome to my studio. I finally decided to give you a little tour of my workshop to show you what I have and how everything is stored. Let's take a look. Here I have some of my favorite pieces. These are the rusty magical ones, as well as pieces I received from my dear scrapbooking friends. This corner is where my actual work desk is, along with pieces made with sprays. So this corner here is kind of rusty and magical, while this one is much more cheerful and life-affirming. And I also have some more pieces here from my scrapbooking friends. On the other side, I have another shelf where I keep my artwork. And there's also this dresser, which is very convenient for laying out different projects. Then there's my failed project called the green wall. At some point, I had the brilliant idea of making myself a green wall. Why did it fail? Well, because I completely underestimated how much sunlight actually gets into this room. Basically, I have almost no light in here, so the plants are barely surviving and I still can't make a final decision about them, whether I should remove them altogether or install some extra lighting. So for now, I'm just ignoring the whole problem. Here I keep all my filming equipment, and this is my favorite little cabinet. On top of it, I have all sorts of baskets, a basket full of baskets, wooden blanks, and a few photography props. And now, let's take a closer look at everything. Let's open the cabinets and drawers and see what I have and how I store it all. In the first cabinet, I keep canvases. I always need to have lots of canvases. I have a little thing about canvases and brushes. Basically, if I start running low on them, I get nervous. Here I keep chipboard, and there are some MDF blanks as well. Mostly where I keep molds that I rarely use or ones that I bought back in the early days of my scrapbooking. I really need to go through all of this and give some things away, sell them, or just throw them out. And here are my favorite molds from Stamperia. On the first shelf, I have boxes with various leftovers from projects, disassembled projects, beads, and basically materials that I rarely use or don't use at all. And the second shelf has my most used molds. These are mostly Prima marketing, so basically the things I use most often. And on the top shelves, I have all sorts of finished casts plus a box of seashells. Here I keep my folders with stamps and also brads. Way too many of them, actually. I honestly have no idea what to do with them. And chips, remember these things? There are 2 folders here, and they also contain stamps. But I've realized that the most convenient way for me to store things is in their original packaging and in baskets. So the stamps I use most often are kept separately in baskets. On the bottom shelf, I have everything related to plastic crafting, the plastic itself, plus clay, gloves, and sculpting tools. So this whole bottom shelf is dedicated to sculpting. Let's have a look in the drawers. Here I have a drawer with all kinds of sprinkles, glitter, and various little things that I actually use very rarely, but I keep them anyway. I should probably organize everything somehow too, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And in the next drawer, I keep my stencils. I've realized that for me, it's much more convenient to store stencils separately, but I still haven't gotten around to sorting them by theme and organizing everything properly. Maybe I'll finally do that soon. I call the last drawer Hello from the Past. That's where I keep punches, and I honestly have no idea what to do with them. They're just there. I don't want to throw them away, but I'm unlikely to ever use them again, so this is basically my junk drawer. And now let's take a look at my holy grail. This is the dresser where I keep all my colorful supplies. In the first drawer, I keep my sprays. These are mostly Lindy's sprays plus refills. Actually, this isn't the most convenient storage solution. I tried sticking little color labels onto the lids, but they keep coming off. Maybe I'll change the system eventually, but for now, this is what I've got. In the second drawer, I keep acrylic paints, mostly Cadence. I also have some paints from Amsterdam, which are actually pretty good. And Inca Gold, which my friends and I used to buy like absolute maniacs, but now, honestly, I barely use it at all. A little bit of Prima and some paints from manufacturers I don't even recognize. In the next drawer, I keep powders, inks, my favorite liquid acrylics and alcohol inks, plus all sorts of applicator pads and heat tools, embossing heat tools. In the bottom drawer, I have various texture pastes. And since I've recently gotten into working with glass, I also have various types of foil. The next group of drawers is what I call the flower section. In the first drawer, I keep fabric, already treated fabric, as well as fabric that I'm going to treat later. There's also a small selection of molds, wire, and brushes in here. Next, I have soldering irons, flower making pads, a hot glue gun, and replacement blades for my plotter. I'm still holding on to the hope that someday I'll get back to working with paper and actually use my plotter again. In the last flower drawer, I keep the flowers themselves, stamens, flower-making blanks, and all sorts of little bits and pieces. In this section, I have my die-cutting machine and, of course, all the dies. And in the drawers below, I have various metal embellishments, plus a whole bag of buttons. Basically, this is all stuff I hardly ever use anymore, but maybe I'll come back to it someday. In the last section, I keep paper. It's sorted by theme and manufacturer, along with cardstock, the mat I use for filming reels and tutorials, and my apron. Like any self-respecting mixed media artist, I have an apron that I remember exists exactly when I'm already covered in paint.
And that's basically the end of my studio tour. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer. Actually, this isn't everything. Some of my supplies are still stored in other rooms. Things I rarely use, like my sewing machine, fabrics, and those Thai flowers that I have lying around but have absolutely no idea what to do with. And there's also a separate box with unfinished projects. Bye for now, see you soon!